Okay, gotta say, when I hear Sewerage Network Operative, I don't exactly picture a dream job, you know, more like something I'd rather not think about. But your RoleCatcher research, it kind of makes this whole thing way more interesting than I would have thought.
You're right. There's this whole hidden world under our feet, right? People don't even think about it, but it's so important. I mean, for our health, for everything.
Yeah, it's like we just assume everything just disappears magically or something. Someone's got to manage all that. And this RoleCatcher guide makes it clear it's not as simple as it sounds.
Oh, not even close. This isn't some, plunging toilets kind of gig. We're talking a whole network, pipes and pumps and treatment centers. It's complex. These guys need to get hydraulics, engineering, even software.
Software. Okay, now that's got me. What kind of software are we even talking about here?
Imagine like a digital map, right? But instead of streets, it's the city's whole sewage system. Pipe sizes, how fast things are flowing, where the pumping stations are, it's all there. Operatives use it to like monitor everything live, troubleshoot if something goes wrong, even like model what if scenarios.
So like air traffic control, but for wastewater. And this preventative maintenance the guide mentions, what's that about in real life?
Being ahead of the game, they use sensors, right? Watching for corrosion in the pipes, blockages, even if the flow changes in a way that could mean trouble later. Catching it early is everything so you don't have a disaster later.
So it's not even just fixing what breaks, but knowing it might break before it does. That's next level.
Yeah.
Way more technical than I'd have guessed. But what about like the actual hands-on part? Because the guide does say unpleasant working conditions, and I gotta ask.
Well, it's not glamorous, let's be real.
Yeah,
There are going to be some, shall we say, fragrant moments.
right.
And yeah, you're working in confined spaces sometimes. That's part of it, which means special training, safety protocols, the whole deal.
Yeah, makes sense. Definitely need a strong stomach and maybe a bit of an adventurous side, huh? But even with those parts of the job, the guide also mentions some pretty major positives, like the job security alone is kind of amazing.
It's true as long as people use water and, generate waste, which, let's face it, isn't going to change. This job is secure. Plus, people don't realize this is skilled work. That means good pay, good benefits, even when you're just starting out.
That's a good point. Easy to forget about the essential stuff, but somebody's got to do it, and they should be taken care of for sure. Speaking of starting out, the guide has that whole career path laid out, starting with the trainee role. What's that like in those early days?
Think of it as like a hands-on apprenticeship. You're with the experienced operatives, learning by doing, how to check the pipelines, spot potential problems, run the pumping stations, even use that software we talked about.
It's cool they even put in a profile, a real trainee named Sarah. Says she's super motivated, detail-oriented, learns fast. It's like a sneak peek at what it takes to really thrive in this job, you know?
And that's just the first step. When you get that experience under your belt, you move up, become a full-on sewerage network operative, more responsibility, more working solo, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. The guide even calls it proactive problem solving,
Yeah.
which makes sense, right? I mean, one small thing goes wrong down there, it can snowball pretty fast.
No kidding. Nobody wants to be the one who caused a sewage backup. So, say you've got those everyday tasks down, what's the next step up?
Well, the guide says that's when you'd become a senior operative. That's where the experience comes in. You start mentoring the newer folks, maybe lead some inspections, even specialize, like really getting into the system diagnostics or that predictive software, optimizing the maintenance schedules.
So less hands-on, more like using what you know to help everyone else and make the whole system better.
Exactly. And if you're good at that whole leadership thing, the next logical step is a supervisory role.
Sewerage Network Supervisor has a nice ring to it. So what's involved with that? Think bigger picture stuff. You're overseeing teams, putting together those preventative maintenance programs, managing budgets, making sure everything's up to code, safety-wise. Basically, you're making sure a whole section of that network runs smoothly.
Wow, that's a lot. Sounds like you got to know the technical side, A&D, how to manage people.
Yeah.
This guide even mentions a sewerage network manager, right?
That's the top, yeah.
Yeah.
You need that strategic thinking, long-term planning for upgrades, working with city planners, all that. Basically, you're the wastewater CEO. Though CEO of clean water probably looks better on a business card.
For sure. Crazy how much goes on behind the scenes, stuff most of us never even consider. And with everyone talking about old infrastructure these days, seems like these jobs are just going to get more important, right?
Absolutely. These are the folks protecting public health, the environment, keeping our communities running, really. It's so true. It's easy to forget. Every time you flush, there's a whole team making sure it actually works the way it's supposed to. Going back to your RoleCatcher research, it sounds like the platform isn't just good for learning about this career path, but for actually landing a job too.
It really is like their CV analysis tool. It helps you really showcase your skills so they match up with what employers are looking for.
So it's not enough to just hey the skills. It's got to be clear to anyone looking to hire you too.
You got it. And that's where RoleCatcher goes even further with like their interview prep stuff. They've got tons of practice questions, even ones specifically for, these sewerage network jobs.
So you can practice talking about like hydraulics or safety procedures, even how you'd manage a team.
Exactly. It's like a practice run for the real interview. Helps you get comfortable, nail those answers.
Get those nerves out of the way so you can really show how passionate you are about the work itself, which is huge because at the end of the day, that's what'll make you stand out when everyone's got similar skills on paper.
Totally. Now, before we wrap this up, I got to ask about the future of this whole field. The research mentioned some pretty wild tech coming in.
We talked software, sensors, but imagine AI taking an even bigger role managing these systems, right?
AI watching the flow rates, knowing when maintenance needs to happen before anyone else, even like making the treatment process better.
You got it. And don't forget robots. We might see them inspecting those pipes, clearing out blockages, even doing repairs in those tight, hazardous spaces.
Whoa. Talk about changing what unpleasant working conditions even means, though I bet the human operatives wouldn't complain about things being safer.
For sure. It's not about replacing people. It's about giving them the tools to do the job even better and without putting themselves at risk.
Sounds like a career that's like essential now, A&D with a ton of potential down the line.
No doubt. And for anyone listening who's, I don't know, maybe a little intrigued by all this, it's more complex and important than people realize. RoleCatcher is the place to go if you want to dive in deeper.
Couldn't agree more. So, on that note, we'll leave you to think about that whole world going on under our feet and the folks making sure it all keeps running smoothly. Until next time, good luck out there on the job hunt.